Everyone knows Meat Boy is dead. And not just because of the insane number of deaths frustrated gamers have put him through over the years. Even worse, our beloved hunk of anthropomorphic meat has been dead in spirit. Most fans of the Super Meat Boy series are very familiar with the rise and fall of their beloved icon. From early Flash game, to Superstar console release, to misguided sequel, and the final form, cash grab spin-offs. It seems the further Meat Boy gets from his original roots, the worse off the series has gotten. However, the recently released demo for Super Meat Boy 3D has surely sparked some hope in the titular boy's resurgence back into the limelight. More so than just a trailer, a real hands-on preview gives us a better guess at whether the dream is still alive for Meat Boy fans. Let's take a look. The most obvious change to this series is that the platformer is going 3D, a gutsy move away from the 2D landscape the series has stuck to for 17 years. I interpret the jump as an effort to drive additional sales, or what we sometimes refer to as a gimmick. After playing the demo, I had many questions about the move to 3D, but none of them nagged at me more than the question, why make the change at all? The formula for the original Super Meat Boy was very strong, and with the popularity of 2D platformers holding up to this day, I don't imagine the old formula needing any kind of overhaul in order to stay relevant. That is not to say that the 3D gimmick is terrible. I think it affords the game a few fun quirks that the devs can play with during later levels, but it also introduces some bad quirks as well. For example, Twitch platforming mechanics don't benefit from lots of visual clutter on the screen, as it confuses the player between foreground and background, and between safe objects and deadly obstacles. By adding an extra plane of movement, this new release has multiplied the amount of visual clutter on screen, leading to deaths coming not from skill checks, but from the inability to tease out exact angles of objects, as well as the shifting distance between foreground and background. While 2D Meat Boy allows the player to get in the zone and focus on one spot on the screen, 3D adds the extra burden of forcing your eyes to shift with a moving camera and changing perspectives, feeling more like guesswork than achievement, especially during the frustrating diagonal sections. Worse, Meat Boy can even get caught in the background, which is a death sentence having to rely on a shadow and blind navigation. I believe these are some of the reasons we don't get many high-speed punishing platformers choosing 3D. Like many things in life, radical changes usually come with trade-offs. That is unfortunately also the case for the game's new high-resolution art style, contrasting with the low-detail look of previous games. While the new artwork looks gorgeous as you jump around environments, really immersing you in the world and its dangers, it also acts as another new distraction to high-speed gameplay. It became difficult for me to understand where the exact boundaries were for obstacles, and whether some items were obstacles or just background aesthetic. I personally felt that both of these major changes ended up taking more away from the gameplay than they added in design appeal. The gameplay is still fun, and not nearly as much of a train wreck as the previous two titles, but the platforming could still use a little polish. The jumping feels less tight and a bit more floaty than the first game, and the wall run seems like a very unnecessary addition to Meat Boy's moveset, adding additional confusion in whether the player should wall run across a gap or try to wall jump across instead. Wall run provides less fine-tuned control, so I think it is the less effective and less fun option, even if it does streamline movement. More than just dodgy game development sense, I think it's poor business sense to believe that Super Meat Boy was destined to become something more than it already was. Let's make it an auto runner, or maybe it should be a puzzle game. Edmund Macmillan's light has all but faded from the game's historic impact. Today's developers have simply not learned from their mistakes, or weak sales from the previous two games, enough to come to the obvious conclusion. People just want another, better 2D platformer in the vein of Super Meat Boy. In fact, I bet much of the level design of this new game could have been done similarly in 2D and saved a lot of time, since the new foreground-background axis seems to add very little. If you agree that Team Meat should just make a true sequel to the original Super Meat Boy, leave me a comment. Thankfully, the demo is free on Steam right now, linked in the description, so you can go try it yourself. It's not very long at all and can likely be completed in under a half hour, so I'd say this is really just a taste of what's to come, an attempt to win over the last remaining Meat Boy fans, as opposed to being a starting point for beginners. For how short it is, I can't offer a rating yet, but I would need to see major improvements and a justification of the 3D perspective to even consider a future purchase here. Thanks again for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and I'll catch you meat lovers later.